Well, everybody, welcome to Staying Outside. My name is Brad Garman. I'm with the Michigan Office of Outdoor Recreation Industry. We're going to wait just a couple minutes. We have our guests here, and I'll just give folks a few more minutes to log in and get plugged in. So hang on for just a couple more minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about this office so that hopefully we can spend more time talking to our panelists as we get started. So again, it's the Michigan Outdoor Recreation Industry Office. I sometimes just call it the Outdoor Industry Office. We were launched here in Michigan as a standalone office not quite a year ago. It's a state government position, but really the goal is to help grow Michigan's outdoor recreation economy. And that means everything from, sort of the enjoyment we have of Michigan's outdoor recreation, the places we go, the tourism pieces, the landscape and everything like that. But for my work, a lot of more what I do is sort of grow the product and the consumer side of it. How do we make more of this product in Michigan, whether it's the tents or the off-road gear or the aftermarket pieces and stuff that we can really use our amazing outdoor recreation assets as a lever to sort of grow prosperity in the state too. So we're adding jobs and hopefully adding companies and making more of these products and then working through our retail, our amazing outdoor recreation retailers, such as Gazelle Sports that you'll hear from today, to really make this a bigger piece of our economic future. So I think we do a lot today and we can do a lot more tomorrow. So that's essentially where I'm coming from. And that's sort of why I'm very excited to get to know Michigan's outdoor recreation industry partners, folks like Chaco that you'll hear from, as well as Gazelle, and sort of the resource providers like the Department of Natural Resources. I spend a lot of my time there, and I'm very grateful for the support of the Michigan DNR and all the great work that they all do. And I think this alliance of the private sector and the folks who care about helping people get outside more and do more things outside, in alignment and in partnership with the folks who are building trails and maintaining our state parks and local parks and even our national lake shores and things like that. Together, we're going to make a really great team. And I'm still building this office, still growing, sort of what we're going to be doing as a state and what our play is in the economic development landscape around outdoor rec. But I do know a lot of it's going to depend on and be built from the great people that work in this industry in all sectors, from the nonprofits to the for-profits and all of that. So that's me. That's the Michigan Outdoor Recreation Office. And again, I'm really excited to be here, excited to partner with Michigan's outdoor rec companies. So as we get started, just a couple of logistics. You will be able to log in and ask questions along the way. If you get into your sort of interactive part of Facebook, or if you're watching on YouTube, you should be able to ask questions, and those will be consolidated and reviewed and sort of filtered up to me, and I can ask our panelists questions as we go. I want to save for sure the last 10 or 15 minutes of today's discussion for just answering your questions from the audience and talking through things that you're interested in. So with that as sort of an introduction, make sure you use that function and interact with us. We're looking forward to hearing your questions and what you want to work on. And with that as an introduction, I just want to say thank you very much to our panelists today. They're folks that I know and really have admired and worked with and seen their work. And they come from different pieces of the outdoor recreation industry and economy in Michigan. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves to let you know who they are, and then we'll dive into some specific questions about today's topic, which is all these new recreational users, people that we're seeing at the trailheads and out in the parks and in our in local communities that are finding the outdoors maybe for the first time, and what we can do to make sure that that experience is good and that we're onboarding them through this very challenging COVID time in a good way that keeps and maybe supports us long term. So with that, I'm going to start with Jamie Kirby from Chaco and let her introduce herself, talk a little bit about where she's coming from, what Chaco is and does, and what she does there. Jamie?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for the intro, Brad. My name is Jamie Kirby, as he mentioned, and I am a marketing manager and creative director for Chaco Footwear. If you're not familiar with the brand, we're best known for our iconic D sandal. We're a 30-year-old sandal brand that was founded in Colorado by a whitewater rafting guide, and then moved to Michigan when we were acquired by Wolverine Worldwide. We have a factory called Chaco in Michigan, where we repair over 25,000 pairs of well-loved chacos each year and make super cool custom designs for our consumers. My role there is just like aligning our styles to a deeper sense of meaning and purpose with our brand, and then bringing that to life through gorgeous storytelling and ways to connect with the consumer. I am a huge fan of Michigan. I have a passion project called Michigan House that I've been pouring my heart into for the past 6 years, which is how I met Brad. We promote the state's best businesses, musicians, ideas, and artists at the South by Southwest Music Festival down in Austin. And yeah, just a huge fan of the state and excited to be a part of the outdoor industry and this discussion.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamie, and thanks for taking time to be with us today. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Next, we'll go to Alexis, who's a colleague of mine at the Department of Natural Resources.
Thanks, Brad. Hi, my name is Alexis Hermes. I'm the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. So I'm really happy to be here today on this panel. So the cool thing about what we're doing at our department, well, I'll just kind of back up to our mission statement, which is that the DNR is committed to the conservation, protection, management, and use and enjoyment of the state's natural and cultural resources for current and future generations. And my role at the department is fairly new. It's about 1.5 years old because we want to make sure that we are working towards fostering and promoting an environment focused on equity and inclusion to expand the diversity of our beneficiaries and our workforce. So things are changing, with COVID and whatnot. We see so many things changing since March, but then we also know that there's a lot changing out there in terms of our users. We also do know that we have to work on the users that are out there that need more visibility and create spaces for people to get outdoors or for new groups of people to get outdoors. And so that's a little bit about what I do. I work with all of our divisions in our department, our Parks and Recreation division, our marketing and outreach, and pretty much all of our divisions to work on increasing the users in our spaces, their interest in the outdoors, and making sure that everybody feels welcome when they're there. So that's a little bit about what I do.
Perfect. Thank you, Alexis. And Kara, who I really wanted a special shout out to Gazelle for being a partner with me and my office in this for quite a while now. So a member of our Outdoor Rec Advisory Council that I work with. Gazelle is a great partner, and Kara is a great colleague. So thanks. Kara, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Brad. Kara Zerbel, I am the Director of Brand for Gazelle Sports. We have been in business for 35 years, started in Kalamazoo, Michigan, right in downtown Kalamazoo, and now we have 5 stores across the state and a thriving website and e-commerce business. In my role, I oversee all of our community engagement. So that's things like events, virtual events now, but running events, our training programs, and our partnerships within the community. In addition to that, I also oversee our marketing team and work with them to develop our brand voice through Gazelle Sports so that we can effectively tell folks who we are and what we're all about. We truly believe that movement can change your life. And I come to this role and to this company through my passion for not just running, but for building community and making sure that the running and movement space is open for all.
Perfect, thanks. And I'm gonna ask each of you to share a little bit maybe of a favorite place or a park, some of a public outdoor space that you enjoy, just to start. And I'm gonna go back to Gazelle. And one of my personal favorites is actually an event in the coastal sand dunes called the Lake Michigan RTS. I love trail running. It's sort of that and mountain biking are my things. But this race, I believe, is just an incredible opportunity to see some of the best of what Michigan has to offer. So that, one of my favorite things is running. And that's the only race where I've run a 10K, and probably, at least half of it was run barefoot because we were in sand or along the beach and stuff. So that's just great Michigan trail running stuff. So if we'll go back to Kara and then go back in reverse order. Just talk a little bit about a place that you love to go outdoors in Michigan.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that that's one of your favorite races, Brad. It has been one of my favorite races to put on. Unfortunately, because of COVID and some extreme heat last year, we've had to make some tough decisions, but we're hoping to bring that back in 2021 so you can run barefoot on those dunes again. My favorite place in Michigan is Saugatuck Dunes State Park. I absolutely love the pulling into that parking lot and seeing the wooded area and the trails that lead to the beach, and just that view of when they open up to the lake shore. And it's just, I think our dunes are some of the most beautiful places on earth, and Saugatuck in particular, the community there is amazing. And it's pretty incredible to go to a place like that and see so many people hiking the dunes, swimming in the water, and really taking care of the space around them. So that's, we try to get there every weekend that we can to spend some time on those dunes.
Good choice. I love that. Thanks. And if you're watching on Facebook or others, we'd love to hear. Just type in. Let us know what some of your favorite places are. In this time, we're really looking for ways to send people to explore locally. So maybe we can find some hidden gems or things like that through this today too. So yeah, coastal sand dunes, they're awesome. Alexis, how about you?
So Kara actually took my answer. So when she said it, I'm like,
we can share.
It's the COVID challenge in a nutshell, right? Everybody wants to go to the same places.
I'll come up with another because we've got so many places in the state, but I love Saugatuck. I actually kind of did a mini moon there earlier this year when I got married. So I love that place, but I'll jump over to Belle Isle. I'm a Detroit native, born and raised, and I absolutely love Belle Isle, Belle Isle Park. I like all of the opportunities that are out there, but also I think the biggest piece are like the people. When when you're outdoors, you can go to a place to relax, but then also it's a really great place for family. And I have so many memories on the island. I used to go there and bike and run after school, and I learned how to drive on Belle Isle, and so it means a lot to me, my sisters, and my family. And so that will always hold a special place in my heart. I love Belle Isle. So I'm a little biased being from Detroit and want to and I know that's a really, really popular site, but it definitely is a reason why, because it's absolutely gorgeous.
Absolutely. Thanks. No, I'm sort of glad that you got your first choice taken. So we can sort of love to the east side too. And then it reminds me I should shout out too. I think the work that Mark Wallace and another Outdoor Rec Advisory Council member, William Smith, are doing with the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy, it's just amazing. Like that as a natural resource, a lot of people don't realize what a great outdoor experience you can have right downtown Detroit. It's really cool. All right. And Jamie, how about you?
Yeah, love both of those answers. And I have a place that's like not so far from home that's a favorite. So the North Country Trail is incredible. And in Lowell, just outside of Grand Rapids, there's a trailhead at the Boy Scout cabin, which is very unknown. I wouldn't call it secret because especially during COVID, it's been pretty busy, but it's a great place to onboard onto the trail. Super peaceful, very beautiful, runs along the river, and it's got some pretty steep inclines. So it provides a challenge, but it's also very accessible to boop over there like right after work and get some time in nature and not be too far away from home.
That is awesome. And yes, I'm proud. I've been to all these places. That I could picture that one when I was over and had lunch with Andrea Ketchmark and the great team over there at North Country Trail. Again, an amazing thing that not everybody realizes we have in Michigan. National Scenic Trail in the North Country is really amazing. So great, thank you. So sticking with you, Jamie, I think that's a good segue to sort of, I'm really curious to talk a little bit about just COVID and how you personally, and you have been dealing with this. It's such a huge thing, especially for me personally, kids going back to school. If you hear rumbling upstairs, my kids are making noise and banging on the floors upstairs. So how you personally are doing it, and also how's Chaco? Doing some really cool pivots, but it's a really challenging time. And then just talk a little bit about COVID and how you're handling it.
Yeah, well, personally, one day at a time is how I'm handling it. You know, it's been a lot of ups and downs, but being able to get outside, being able to stick with like a daily yoga practice have been ways that I personally have been dealing with the stress and anxiety and craziness that has come along with this. From a professional standpoint, from Chaco, I'm really proud of what the team, how the team responded very quickly to the crisis. There's 3 key things that we did right away that you know, were us just looking at what resources we had available for the community, both the physical community where we are in the Grand Rapids area and our digital community of consumers and followers and fans. So we knew that we needed to shut down our factory in Rockford from making shoes at the beginning of COVID. So our director came up with this idea over the weekend and texted all of us and said we should convert our factory to making masks because PPE was so in limited supply at the time. So we called Lisa, who is the director of our factory, and we came up with a plan to propose to corporate to convert our factory over to make masks to donate to local first responders and healthcare workers. So that was a very interesting and uplifting project to be working on in a very scary and unknown time. We also were, as Brad and I talked about earlier, just about to head down to South by Southwest, and Chaco was kicking off our digital chill outs or our chill out tour for our new product Chillos and debuting our mobile factory bus. So we put those things in park and we quickly pivoted to have digital programming. So the same types of things that we were going to be bringing to consumers in real life, you know, opportunities to do group yoga at festivals and learn about things like CBD oil. We quickly turned that on to a digital program where we were doing Instagram Lives to be able to bring that to a larger audience during, again, a really unknown time. And then lastly, we put together a program to offer our retail partners who were closed an opportunity to sell the Chaco line and earn commission through a website, a microsite off of the Chaco's website. So we called it our dropship program, but it really just gave our retail partners who wanted to be a part of it an opportunity to continue to sell products, while especially the smaller outfitters that don't have an online presence of their own, give them an outlet to be able to continue to sell so that they could be earning some money while from Chaco specifically while their doors were closed.
That's incredible. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and it's a reminder to me, like part of what I really love about Michigan is that we make things like, and that during that crisis, like the pivoting to actually make masks and things like that it's one of the cool things about the outdoor industry and about sort of its presence here in Michigan too. So yeah, I remember it seems like 10 years ago, even though it was really like, 4 months or whatever.
Just a couple months ago.
It was great. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how long that time can feel and yet how short. It's really wild. So thanks. And I know Alexis too, DNR, just briefly, like lots of changes, lots of challenges, but it seems like now through COVID, we were finding like big increases. So we managed to survive sort of the shutdown period and now open, but in a different way, and lots of people finding state parks.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's been a big thing. I want to, shout out our state park staff. That's been incredible. Especially, I would think the words that I can have are flexible, creative, because everyone had to, adjust to the new circumstances that we were all in, and our staff has just been phenomenal. I think March, and we got just exceptionally great weather too, kind of as everything was rolling out. And so I think people were able to get outdoors a lot earlier. I was kind of like waiting for that like random May frost that we sometimes get, but I don't even think we got that, at least down where I am in the Lansing area. So our staff has been really good at adjusting. We have seen a significant influx of visitors from all over. People are trying new things, people are trying new spaces and places, and our staff has been incredibly flexible. We have had some challenges in terms of staffing, right? We're not on our normal staffing at our staffing capacity. We also, have some limitations earlier on around our ability with like toilet and bathroom facilities and whatnot. And so I think the visitors have been really great and have been patient with our staff, and they've just been amazing in adjusting to the situation. Kind of talking to like the personal end, it's been really nice to be able to kind of, take walks a lot more because I'm working in a downtown area. And so I do like the area that I get a chance to walk in every single day when I'm on my lunch or taking a break. And I've not taken up garden, I've always gardened, but my garden is really, really good this year, like really good. I had some amazing zucchini that came out. So I was really happy about that. But it's really been, like I said, that adjustment time, finding time for the things that before I would just put off. I was like, oh, I don't have a chance to do that. I've taken up so much reading. It's been crazy. But yeah, our staff has been really, really good around adjustments and seeing the huge flow of individuals coming out to our public recreation spaces and have exercise patience and understanding with everything changing every single day. So those are some things that we've been managing, but it's kind of nice to see how well we've done through the season. And I know we're getting ready to gear up for the changes as fall comes along as well.
That is awesome. And if, in hindsight, if I would have done a garden instead of what I did do, that would have been better. I did the stupid sourdough thing. So now I'm like, why did I do this? Because now I have so many carbs in my life, and I don't. Kids are happy and they get sourdough waffles and sourdough everything else, sourdough biscuits. But I really wish I had zucchini instead. I would be a much lighter, faster runner if I had not taken up that particular hobby. Oh well. Okay, and Kara too. Like, and thinking too, like the transition you made, and maybe to that point, what might stick? Like, maybe we learned anything that maybe we could carry forward out of it.
Yeah, through the last couple of months, we have seen, I know everybody has talked about it, but we have really seen just a boom in people who are walking, running, getting outdoors. And so, we are a local small business, but we do have 5 stores in that e-com as well. So we're kind of that larger small business. And we did a really, really great job, again, making some of those adjustments from that in-person interaction. So much of what we do and who we are as a company is built on that person-to-person experience in our stores. So we had to get really creative really quickly on how to transition that when we couldn't be face-to-face with people. So we launched things like virtual fittings, curbside pickups, and really one of the big shifts that we made that I see being, at least a part of what we do in our community moving forward is moving our events to a virtual experience and our training programs to a virtual experience. Ultimately, my hope, there's so much social gathering tied to people who are running events and participating in running groups. There's still such a strong craving for that. So I don't think virtual will always be 100% of what we do. And I'm very hopeful that we can get to a place where, we all feel comfortable running together again, because it's in those moments that camaraderie is built, that group feeling is really, it really grows and provides people an opportunity to hold each other accountable in a very strong way. But I think we will always have some virtual component to that. It's just, I feel like it's going to be the reality of our environment moving forward. And, even before COVID, we started to see more of a trend toward, participation online and digital experiences as we look at kind of the next generation of runners and walkers and shoppers coming up who want that seamless transition between in-person and their digital experience. So I think as we, continue to adjust daily, I see that as that digital and virtual component continuing to be something that is just part of the new normal, no matter what.
I'm going to take that opportunity to don my. Speaking of virtual events, yeah, I think that, so this is my Great Lakes and Go hat, Gazelle Sports virtual event. And I know DNR is also doing some virtual events like upcoming Trails Week Challenge. I've seen a lot of that, and I know it's sort of heartbreaking in some ways to be giving up sort of the face-to-face gathering of support and everything that's so baked into the outdoor recreation community and the lifestyle and stuff. But yeah, in the same way, I think there might be some silver linings in terms of reach. I think I heard Jamie talking about the audience that we can reach now with some of the virtual events and personal accountability and stuff. But it's a good transition too, because one of the great things in partnering with you, Kara at Gazelle, especially on this event, is this Recreate Responsibly hashtag that's out there and sort of the guidelines for new users. And I think that that's another piece that I'd love to talk about just a little bit, is that all these new folks are finding it. We have all the data to show people are finding their ways outdoors a lot more, or more people, new people that maybe haven't been doing outdoor stuff. Are you seeing that in Gazelle, and how are you understanding it, thinking about it, and how are you onboarding sort of that, thinking about onboarding those folks in addition to great hats with really nice style? So.
Yeah, I mean, we are definitely seeing it. It's, it's pretty amazing to hear our store staff talk about, so many new customers coming in our doors that we've never seen before or have just picked up walking and running. And I emphasize walking because we also have data to show that younger people are out walking now more than ever. And I think we, tend to put those in a different group out separate from walkers. But it's that, that desire to get out and do something, when you're stuck in your house and you need that outlet, and there's so much benefit that comes from that. Being able to get out and move. And, as we see more and more, what we're calling new to sport, again, our role here is to show up for this new community in the best way that we can. And it's, being a resource where we're providing free 5K to 10K training programs. We are providing a resource portal for folks to get information about the gear that they need, and really equipping our staff to understand that, there are more and more people coming in our door that are new to this. And it's kind of that reminder of, there are some entry-level folks out there. Not everybody is going to come in our store asking about, oh, what's the shoe drop and what's the durometer, and like all of those questions that we get. Some of those, really core runners who are, really super interested in tech. We have people coming in our doors who just want to feel good while they're moving, and they want to make sure that they have what they need to keep moving, because they have gained so much from their ability to get out and move. So I think, keeping that in mind as we continue to develop our programming and what our stores look like, things like that. I think it's just having that top of mind and understanding, so many more new people are coming into our doors.
Thanks. Yeah, Jamie, Alexis, either one of you I see it for sure in the new user kind of thing. I think about it a lot. Any advice, things that you guys are thinking about? I know, Jamie, you're thinking about sort of the transitioning from the adventure and going for the pinnacle user and in the outdoor world into sort of these are folks who have time on their hands and want to get outside and are finding stuff. Are you guys pivoting your messages or your tools, either one of you?
Yeah, totally. I 1,000% identified with everything that Kara said, and showing up for the new community and welcoming them in. And a lot of the things that we've been thinking about is that many of the ways that the outdoor industry shows up is it's meant to be aspirational, the top of the mountain or a trip abroad or, a 10-day backpacking, whatever. Well, for someone who is new to the outdoor industry, that's not aspirational. That's intimidating. That's I don't see myself in that. I'm never going to get there. So maybe this isn't a place for me. And so we're looking at and thinking about the messages that we send and the information that we give to our consumers, and about, you know, just making it something that feels that they can see themselves in, something that they could go do on a weekend very easily, instead of that, you know, it's a huge top of the, you know, climbing Mount Everest sort of adventure. It becomes something that's a little more everyday, and showing how, you know, our products can fit into your everyday life, and help you achieve those things, like now that to your new habits with walking and hiking, and to be able, you know, showing how you can, what you can use to make the most of those new things.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that. I think with the department, we have so many resources online in terms of you know, helping new individuals get out there, or people who want to take a next step in terms of recreation. I think that some cool things that we have, and on our website, we have gear rental, and we've worked with Arrive Outdoors on gear rental. Then also there's information around renting RVs if people want to take the next step. So we have a lot of information on the DNR's website, but I mean, there's a lot of great information there. And there's also a really, really great comprehensive interactive tool, an accessible tool to look at all of our state parks and to see their amenities, where they are, all of the details there for individuals who may want to try a new park, or who may want to try hiking, or want to find a boat launch or whatnot, and need some information on the ground. And also our staff is pretty, they're incredibly helpful when it comes to that. So that would be my recommendations and tips. And then also I think a really neat tip, and things that I utilize too, is like social media, Instagram, Facebook, and following those some influencers, following like the DNR's webpage and some other web pages that have ideas. I do know that the DNR also, we do pop out some of the available campsites and places for overnight lodging that's still available on that upcoming weekend. And they do have those updates on their Facebook and social media regularly. And so if you're trying to, you know, get out there and you don't have gear and you don't know where to go, there's lots of resources out there to take that first step.
Alexis, you just reminded me of something when you were talking about the gear rentals. We just started working with this new organization in Grand Rapids called Thrive Outside Gear Library. So they're pulling, and I'm sure Gazelle is working with them too, maybe. But it's super cool. We just learned about it. And they are working to equip new enthusiasts with gear to be able to check out to, you know, just get outside and do all the fun things. So we're working with them, and I know Meryl in our portfolio and a few others are, to make sure that there's a really robust gear library for people to try out the Chaco sandals and, you know, all this other equipment for their next adventure.
That's super cool. It's a really good reminder of what an awesome community this is, because that, you know, I've been in contact with John Judnich and some of the folks at Grand Rapids Parks, and also Switchback Gear Exchange, the folks that are working on that. Like, it's such a super cool project, and it's sponsored by, you know, the Outdoor Industry Association nationally. They picked only a handful of cities to do that Thrive Outside program, and they started like Oklahoma City, Grand Rapids, and it's just great that Michigan's on the radar that way. That you know, getting people outside, and I think the timing is as horrible as COVID has been, and so challenging economically to so many of our gear shops. Have lost a few really good ones and stuff. It's also really highlighted something I think you all are talking about, which is that it's also opened the door to recognition that it doesn't have to be this performative, high intensity sort of thing. And I think Michigan could be really good at this, right? Like that quote, I loved it, that it's that's not aspirational, that's intimidating. Like, Michigan can do both. And I think that's one of the really cool things. We're not quite as baked into that really like aspirational summiting the mountain as fast as you can culture, though you can do that here. We have incredibly intense bike races and stuff up in UP, and really ultra running kind of stuff too. But there's so many great places to go locally that don't have to be that way, that it can be part of your life, part of your healthy lifestyle. So other suggestions, ideas, Alexis or Kara, on sort of like what are people wondering about as they come in new? Are they the questions about how to do it safely, things that you think are key things we should talk about?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think we have a lot of people who are asking questions. We've got a lot of gym goers who aren't able to go to their gyms. And so it's, learning how to move in the spaces that are accessible to them. So we do have a lot of people coming in and asking the question, where do we start, or how do I continue, or what's going to set me up for success, to be able to kind of be in this space longer term. With running in particular, the running community is very goal oriented, generally speaking, and absolutely that social community too. But I think, one of the things that I heard from a friend of mine when I posted about Great Lakes and Go was, I have always had a 5K on my bucket list, and I've just never had time to do it. And now, I'm out walking with my family and moving with my family. So we decided to put that on the calendar and make that our goal. So I think one of my biggest recommendations is to find something and set a goal for yourself and give it a time frame. If it's not a 5K event that has its own time frame, set your own timeline for your goal, and that motivation of achieving that, really helps in that process and staying committed to. And we have so many wonderful events in Michigan, both in West Michigan and in the Detroit area. We're a sponsor of the Detroit Free Press Marathon, and have been working with them on how to continue to keep people motivated in this virtual event space, and really switching the conversation from that disappointment of not being able to meet in person to the excitement of having something on the calendar that you can do with your family and close friends. And we really wanted Great Lakes and Go to be as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. You've got those folks who are doing the great race across Tennessee, logging a couple thousand miles over the summer, but like we've talked about already, that is intimidating to a lot of people. And so providing that smaller incremental goal setting along the way, I think, is really key to not just getting people out there and moving, but when you achieve that initial goal, that it kind of sets that craving to achieve that next goal and that next goal. So I think that's really the biggest tip that I would give anybody, is to set a goal for yourself that has a defined timeline.
Great, yeah, thanks. And we had some questions come in, and I just, related to that, I think in terms of the virtual event, I love that you tie it to sociability, that we assume like virtual means isolated, but I think because the outdoors are a sort of a safer place to be. So the question is sort of related to how do you address age issues, like older folks who might not be as comfortable with a virtual event, but I think maybe that's a way to do it. Like you can think about, it's a social piece too. You can make a date with someone in your family and be outside and do a virtual event together and get someone maybe out there that you can be a mentor for, or a hand holder in a virtual sense, not a physical sense, unless they're your family.
Yeah, and really with virtual experiences, there's no start line and there's no defined finish line. And so I think really kind of looking at it as an opportunity and a goal to set that's really about your own ability to accomplish that. So, if it takes you 3 times walking a 1 mile loop on 3 different days, that's totally fine. And you can still accomplish that goal in incremental ways.
I love that too. Jamie or Alexis, anything on that? I'm going to move on to the next question.
The one thing that I do want to add, when you asked about safety earlier, I know this has kind of come up as of recent, especially as new users are getting out there, more people are out in the water and whatnot. Really emphasizing being aware of the conditions out on our Great Lakes. You can always find that information, michigan.gov/DNR. If you search beach safety, you should be able to find the conditions on the Great Lakes. And so as we're out in the water, buying more kayaks, making sure that we are also buying our life preservers as well. I just want to emphasize that as we talk about new users and getting out in new spaces that we may not necessarily know all the ins and outs of.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a good reminder, and I will do another sort of shout out to the hashtag Recreate Responsibly. If there's just some really great basic kind of stuff there that I think new users would find really helpful. In terms of this is still we still need to be thoughtful and careful, and I think we think about not wanting to stress our healthcare system any more than it already is and stuff. So this isn't necessarily a time to really totally push your boundaries, but at the same time, I think it is okay to like push your comfort level. Like there's a difference between awkward outdoors and dangerous outdoors. So yeah, don't be crazy, but push your limit a little bit. It's okay to like, uncomfortable is okay. Just not risky, I guess.
Did you just start a new hashtag awkward outdoors? I think that could really catch on.
So yeah, I don't have it fully baked yet, but when I'm on my runs, this is the kind of stuff. So I've actually worked out an acronym that works with awkward. That's really cool, like adventure and wonder. It's pretty cool. So yeah, watch for it.
All right.
That's the kind of crap I think about when I'm running.
Let's work coming soon.
It's on the way. So in that same vein, though, I think just for a minute, do you have similar advice? So I'm sort of there are certain pieces of the outdoors that I feel pretty solid in. Are there things that folks that are more experienced or they're out there a lot, are there ways that we can be helping these newer folks? Do you have suggestions for things we should be doing to onboard them in a good way so that they have a good experience and they come back for more, instead of being sort of what I think sometimes too judgmentally? We could be like, you're not doing it right. That's not the way you do that. Or here, let me give you a few pointers and then overwhelm them. So ideas for things we could be doing helpful. Anybody can jump in on that one.
Yeah, I'll jump in.
We're all gonna jump in.
Good. How about Alexis, go first, and then
I'll just keep mine really short and sweet. All I can say, especially in the spaces that we're so used to, if you are seasoned in that area or doing an activity, is just to exercise patience and grace with people, especially if you don't know that person. A smile, a heads up on some conditions or something like that for individuals and I think when you're out there, you can kind of pick up on the new users and whatnot, and being helpful, obviously, from a safe distance and making sure you're being safe around it. But really, I think those are the small things really add to users' experience. A smile and helping out. If they've got some issues out there. I mean, we experience so much and we're always learning. And I think sometimes when we try a new experience, feeling alone can make it seem a lot worse than it actually is, and saying that, this is normal and we're all learning. And no, that's the only recommendation that I have right now. I know you all have some cool things to add.
That was exactly what I was going to say about being patient and welcoming, Alexis. I think that, and also like shifting your mindset a little bit, instead of like, oh, these people, like, this is my secret spot. Now all these people are here. It's like, everyone being excited about the outdoors is like an insurance policy for all of us, right? And for it's for people caring about and voting for public lands and paying attention to why everyone's been clamoring about how important this is. So I think that new people in the outdoors is amazing. And also sort of, I think we can expand the definition of what like outdoors it does mean to a lot of us, like movement and performance and activity, but it could also, Michigan has an amazing like cabin and lake life and winery tour sort of culture that isn't as active, where you're maybe just laying in a hammock and, catching the breeze, reading a book. I think we can, if we expand what that definition of what outdoors is, like I had mentioned earlier, it's like it just welcomes more people and doesn't make it aspirational. It makes it very inviting and inclusive, because the outdoor industry is about all of those things, not just like activity and performance, which several of us on this call brands are about, but it's also about all those other things.
Yeah, Go ahead, Kara.
I also was going to say patience, but in addition to that, I think there's something to be said for experienced users holding each other accountable too in helping create that welcoming space. And just like any other social setting that you're part of, when you have someone who's, whether they're part of your hiking group or boating, and you see their frustration or hear some of the comments that they're making, and kind of spread that patience and grace as far as you can, and hold your peers accountable too, because I think there is something to be said for an individual being welcoming and inviting others into the space that maybe haven't been there before, but there's something far more powerful when it's the collective that's able to do that.
Totally.
So one of the things that worries me, I guess, is, part of the reason I think it's working, and then we're finding so many new folks right now and stuff, is that because, frankly, our normal competition is closed. Like there's movie theaters and things that people would normally be doing. So I think in some ways, a lot of us that are experienced that, like, we try to make time and carve out time for outdoors. Like it's important to us. And I think right now, maybe some of the new users are folks who are like, well, I have time. Like I'm sitting in my basement on Zoom meetings all day. Like at least I can go out for a walk or something. So in terms of like, how do we keep this, like the theme of the day, or like, how do we make sure that we're providing something that they find so much value in now, that even when it is at some point in the future, when things are more open and more available, that they still found something here that's worthy of coming back to? Do you have resources or ideas of folks that they can lean on these ideas? How do we make sure this is something they come build into their life, make it that we keep them around for the long term?
I think that's a great question to pose to the audience to write in about, as users of the outdoors alongside of us. I would love to hear what they're thinking and what they feel is missing, because this group is an awesome group to be able to give that to them or to provide that for them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're tapping into a group that's kind of reconnecting or, discovering the recreation opportunities. And so we want to keep them. And so we want to figure out, what they really like to do, right? With the DNR, we're seeing our overnight lodging and everything just kind of like surpass previous years, even with us opening up later and whatnot. And so we're seeing kind of like what people like, is it, and now we've got to like go back, towards the end of the season and look, that the more modern campgrounds are, what are people using and really leaning into to help connect them in and building off that. But definitely kind of leaning on what the users, provide as feedback for us, so we can make sure that, not only do we replicate, but we enhance for future, future summers and falls and times when it's, when people want to go out and recreate, or hopefully when we go back to normal, I should say, whatever normal is, whenever normal gets here.
Whatever normal is.
I think too, there's, we as an industry and a community have really put an emphasis on accessibility for all during this time. And, I think the onus is on us to a certain extent to maintain that accessibility and understand that that's part of the reason that so many people are out and doing things, is because they now have access to these resources in these spaces that they maybe didn't have access to previously. And so I think keeping that top of mind moving forward into, we said, whatever the new normal is, but kind of maintaining that mindset of how do we make this still more accessible? How do we provide even more opportunities, especially when those other competitive, spaces come back online with gyms and movie theaters and events. I think that really that's where we can continue to, bring those who are new to sport along with us for the long term.
That's great. So yeah, we're coming up about 10 minutes left or so. So yeah, send the questions in. I'll start working my way through them. But just on that last point, I think this is the heart of the conversation. And I would say, yes, I agree. Like, throw in ideas, because to Facebook or YouTube, wherever you are, or find me and send them my way. But I think one of the things I'm excited about is doing this together, like as an industry partnership that I sort of started this conversation with. Because, you know, I think together we're going to be able to do something that, in my mindset, sort of what we're trying to do is elevate people into something that's a lifelong pursuit. And I think that's going to be something that we need to work together to find those pathways. So if you come into it as a walker, what's next for you? Like, what's the next level? What's the next thing that we're going to find and we need all our brains. And I think we need everybody's sort of skill set and the amount of knowledge, both, just take the group today between Gazelle Sports and the staff and the founders and DNR, the amazing people that I get to work with there and Alexis get to work with, the knowledge and history and Chaco, just like the notion that this company is here in Michigan and we can celebrate that and sort of tap into what it means to be proud of being from Michigan. I think there's so many ways that we can plug people into the experience that, maybe we have found, and get them to the next thing and the next thing. And that's to me what makes it a lifelong thing. Any thoughts on that? Like, what's the next thing that we might start plugging these new users into that inspires you?
I'll go on that quickly.
Yep. And I saw Jamie going to say so. Alexis, are you doing it? No, it's good. It's good. Thanks.
Like I said, I'll go quickly. I think that in terms of the next thing, and just keeping in mind as we have these new users, and we see the change in trends and not only interest and who wants to go out there. And so, also being very aware that demographic looks different, especially when we talk about like ability, age, race, socioeconomics. And so, I think the next step has to, no matter what it is, has to account for all of that. So we can make sure we really are promoting an inclusive outdoors and people have an opportunity to recreate and take on new opportunities, no matter where location, even if they have barriers. And so whatever that next step is, and I don't know all, but I do think that I do know for a fact that this industry and this community is really aware of that and pushing towards creating an inclusive space for all, and no matter what area we're in. And so that's my hope, and I know we're pushing forward, and we just have to make sure we're aware of that as we plan to incorporate them in the future.
I was just going to chime in as a hype girl for all of you to say yes. And I think that Kara said it really eloquently about keeping accessibility top of mind and just continuing to optimize. And that's just echoing Alexis's thoughts and Brad's thoughts about doing it together and really coming together across the industry in the state. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for us to make strides faster if we work on things together. And I just love being able to be a part of conversations like this where we are talking about these types of things. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I do too. And I'm really excited. This is sort of the front end. I think there was a lot of work we did. We actually had some questions come in about building that coalition. And one of the things I'm really excited about too is sort of showing the potential for this industry collaboratively to not only, provide those gateways and things, because the retailers and the outfitters are all out there and provide such great knowledge and tools about how to get outside safely and what to do and where to go. So as we try to disperse the use across the landscape a little bit more, instead of congregating, those local gear shops and bike shops and people are great resources. I was reminded of that just this week. They know where to go that maybe might not be so packed. And then also like working with the idea that we can design these tools and we can make these products in Michigan too. And that's together a pretty powerful campaign and community. One last, I'll throw this last question too, that I think it makes total sense and something on my mind a lot. Michigan winter is coming. And how do we keep the outdoors, people, when it's Michigan in winter? Please come up with some ideas.
Bundle up, folks.
You just created like the best tagline for that, like Michigan winter is coming. I don't know if you could get like permission for that or whatnot, but I feel like you could really tag that.
Awkward. Michigan winter is coming.
I was thinking about this earlier. like, man, like I really, really love Michigan in the fall, but winter is always like, oh man, let's like shut the doors and whatnot. I will be the first to say that I've definitely got to do a lot better around recreating in the winter. I was like, what are we going to do? We can't just like walk around and there's ice everywhere and whatnot. And so I think like in terms of like those two words that I said earlier around like adapting and having some creativity around that, I think, in the industry and the community, especially, providing opportunities for people to do things. I really think, those virtual events probably will kick in the best, I'm guessing this year. But as a user myself, I will be looking forward to that because I don't really recreate in the winter. And so I don't know, anything that can get me out there and comfortably, I probably would do a lot more like from home out in the snow versus like being out, super up north or out in the middle of the woods for a significant amount of time in the cold. That's a really good question.
Well, honestly, and I should, and I want to hear what you say, but like, I didn't mean to make it sound bad because actually our Michigan winters are great, but you do need, some guidance. You need the right equipment. Yeah. So I'm working with our ski industry folks right now, and there's so much to do, and fat biking, like it's actually amazing to have winter. I think that's an advantage we have over other states like that don't get winter, but you do need some extra, especially if you're new to this. It might take a little extra love. So that's a campaign. I think that's totally something good. Other ideas?
I have to use those snowshoes in the back.
I got them out just for this. I made those in a Michigan State Park. Actually, my wife and I on a date before we were married. We made our own snowshoes in Ludington State Park. Other ideas for winter?
Yeah, so we like to tell people that there's no such thing as bad weather, only the wrong gear. And truthfully, there is gear for absolutely everything, to not just, get out and move safely, but comfortably too. I think we've seen people be so adaptable in this environment, gym goers who are at the gym 5 days a week, are now doing other things. And, so I think we have to give credit a little bit to people to be creative themselves and just make sure that, we communicate the resources that are out there in finding, the right shoes that, maybe they've got waterproofing and Gore-Tex in there, or, the safety features that, in Michigan, we have less light in the afternoons and mornings. So making sure that, you've got lights and things like that to make it as safe and comfortable as possible. And also, I think this goes back to those accountability partners that you find in the social community too, whether that's an online community or your family community or your group of friends. But, really holding each other accountable to continue to get outdoors in Michigan. I think it's wonderful that we have so many different types of activity that you can do in the winter. I love hearing about the ski industry and opening that up a little bit more, and hiking and snowshoeing, and yes, even running on the streets. There's traction devices that you can put on your shoes so you don't slip and fall. There's a lot of things out there that are built for winter specifically that we just need to communicate that out to these people who are newly joining us to make sure that they have access to that information and are able to do that.
Yeah, Jamie, do you have something on that?
I mean, I work for a sandal brand. I'm not going to be outside in winter. Just kidding. All jokes aside, I totally just agree with everything that Kara said about, just being prepared with the right tools. We're not going to have very much light in the winter, so making sure you have lights, all of that resonates with me. And I think keeping it social is really important, because then you have other people, when you're like looking out the window and it's snowing, if you have like a social group that you do outdoors things with, they can coax you off the couch and out into the elements to experience it when times are dark and cold.
If nothing else, just do it for the selfie, right? That you can share with your friends that like, I was strong enough to get out there in the snow. Do it for the selfie.
Oh my gosh,
I love it.
That is totally going to become a marketing thing. # do it for the selfie. If that's not out there already, it will be. Michigan winter, do it for the selfie. But it did remind me too, like, and maybe this circles back a little bit to the gear library piece too. And I think equity and inclusion as we think about new users and price points. Can be a very expensive sort of thing, especially as you head into winter. So I think maybe that can be our last thing. We're coming on the end. Any comments on sort of diversity, equity, and inclusion and how we are thoughtful and embracing all users and price points and things like that?
I can go really quickly in talking about a little bit. Our department is really focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and justice as a huge component of what we do. And so focusing in and making sure that all of our spaces are inclusive and welcoming, and our staff is trained, and we have not only accessible options there, but we're making sure that we promote it, and it's not something you've got to find or know somebody to have access to. And so I think as we push forward, we'll have more opportunities, essentially planning for that. You're planning for the users who are going to be here in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and it's going to look different. We're all going to look different. And so making sure we plan for that. I think our, department is becoming more aware, and our staff is doing a really good job at preparing for that trend, and preparing for that user demographic as it changes. It's definitely shifting even currently now. And so making sure our spaces aren't safe, not only safe, but making sure people feel safe and they know that these are safe places and they have opportunities and they know where to access track chairs if they can't, walk on in certain areas, because we know in our public spaces there's difficult terrain to manage and whatnot. So all those opportunities that are out there, we want to make sure we promote it. And I think that, like you said, with the gear library and whatnot, being aware at everyone's, not only just being aware of everyone's opportunity for access and the barriers that are possibly there, and just being intentional around removing those barriers for everyone to fully be able to participate.
Absolutely. All right. I think we're coming up to the end of our time. Any last things? I really, really want to say thanks to all three of you for this, and to Gazelle for helping host this event, and Ted for Michigan House for helping too. Any parting words of wisdom? Stay awkward. Do it for the self.
Stay awkward.
Yeah. Thank you, Brad, for pulling this conversation together. I think it's incredibly valuable. So thanks for hosting.
Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate being here.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, my pleasure. And we'll keep working together, and see you all again in the future. Thanks.
Thanks.